Howdy folks, I hope all of you are doing well today. This is going to be, I don't know, short and sweet, I hope. There's a very common belief in the church system, and I'm talking about the Baptist, the Holiness, the Methodist, the Pentecostals, and all those other denominational branches, even the Church of God that is supposed to be non-denominational. And it all comes from Catholicism, where things were twisted, 1800 years ago, and have been getting more and more out of hand ever since. Not that I'm here to try to pick on that, but that concept is that the laws for the Jews and the non-Jews are under grace. Even to the point that I was once told what's sin for me is sin for me, and what's sin for someone else is sin for someone else, which is a load of hooey. If it's a sin for me, it's a sin for you, and if it's a sin for you, it's a sin for me, period. It's not a choose your own lifestyle adventure book. Now, the reason I'm focusing on that today is much different. Well, I say much different. It's coming from a different perspective than you typically hear. And I apologize for this little skip in the video. I got to go pick something up. Alright, I'm back. I forgot to grab my little note. Sorry about that. So, if the Jews are under one set of instructions and everyone else is under a separate set of instructions, first off, explain how that's fair. It's not. Now, I'm going to say something that a lot of you aren't going to get and you're going to want to argue with. But if you'll reason it out, you'll understand what I'm saying. Yahweh is absolutely, unequivocally fair. Everyone is held to exactly the same standard, which is exactly why we have to have a Messiah, because we are all held to the same standard and we all fail miserably. So the bigger point that I'm getting at here is I want you to hold that thought in mind that I said a while ago, where I have been told that what I believe is sin for me, and what somebody else believes is sin for them. And also maintain in your mind that concept that there's one law for the Jews and another law for the Gentiles, which is totally blown away in Deuteronomy anyway. I think it's Deuteronomy. The address should have popped up here on the screen of the scripture that I'm talking about, where it says that it's one law for the descendants of Abraham and the strangers that dwell among you or live among you, or something like that. Like I said, the address is up there. I don't remember it verbatim. But the main scriptures that I come here to talk about with that division concept is Matthew 12:25, which says, and pardon me, I've got to read it, it's on a sheet of paper down here, says, "And Jesus knew their thoughts, and said unto them, Every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and every city or house divided against itself shall not stand." Okay, so if there's one law for the Jews and everybody else is under grace. Well, this is all supposed to be for the kingdom of heaven. Doesn't that mean that the kingdom of heaven is divided against itself by holding one set of people to a very strict standard that they have to live by to enter in, and then letting other folks go in because somebody died 2,000 years ago to pay for their sins? That's ridiculous. And by no means am I making light of the Messiah. I'm just trying to put into perspective that flawed concept. Alright, and what else does Scripture say? It says 2 or 3 witnesses, right? Alright, well here's witness number 2. Mark chapter 3, verses 24 and 25 says, "And if a kingdom be divided against itself, that kingdom cannot stand. And if a house is divided against itself, that house cannot stand." Alright, so the addresses were flashed up in the video. The scriptures will be quoted in their entirety under the description. So, just to recap, reiterate, whatever, not trying to pound it home and be repetitive, but if there's one standard for this group and an entirely different standard for this group, but they're all supposed to be part of the same kingdom, isn't that a house divided against itself? Which truthfully is a strategy or strategic concept when it comes to war. If you can get your enemies infighting, then you will defeat them, which is exactly what Lucifer's goal is and was. Which is why, if you'll notice, in Torah and the prophets, Lucifer's goal was to get everyone worshiping false gods and idols and to just outright turn away from Yahweh. Well, since Messiah has come, what has Lucifer's goal been? Yes, it's still to get people to worship false idols and etc., but his method has changed for the most part. What does he do now? I apologize, a gust of breeze just came through. What he's doing now is he's got different groups divided over the same scriptures. He keeps everybody infighting. And in that, we're defeated. So, all that being said, I'm going to end it now. And as custom, I'm going to remind you, don't take my word for it. Don't take your preacher's word for it. Don't take anybody else's word for it except for Yeshua's or Yahweh's. Yahweh, Yeshua. And those reminders come in Proverbs 18:13, Acts chapter 17 verses 10 and 11, and 2 Timothy chapter 2 verse 15. I hope to see each and every one of you in the kingdom of heaven. Yahweh bless.